Hi, my name is Michael Bean. I have been an acting teacher for almost 20 years. This is your free lesson for myfreeactingclass.com. Today is Monday, so we're doing self-tape review. So we're going to be looking at a self-tape review sent in by Natalia, who is somebody who watches these on YouTube and is based in the UK. She was thrilled about the session with Marina O'Shea, the UK-based talent agent. If you haven't taken a look at that from last week, man, she had some just really clear, wonderful stuff to say that is every bit as relevant for folks in other markets as it is for the UK. Candy, who's with us, was there, so she can back me up on that one. So Natalia sent in a couple of self-tapes from an independent project. What I would love to do is look at the script, get a couple of you to read the script, and then we'll look at her tape, and then if we can, I think we'll have time today to workshop a little piece of it. So actually, maybe what we'll do is we'll watch her tape first, just so I don't, so I can give you the experience of the decision makers, right? The decision makers may not have the script in front of them, especially the producers are unlikely to have the script directly in front of them. Although if this one's an independent project, then likely the creator or the director is the one who's watching the tapes. So let's take a look at that. Now, she has an accent and was asked to prepare both sides of the script, right? So it's two different characters with the same accent, because the director apparently got back to her and said, well, I don't know about the accent, but like we probably have something for you, so just tape both of them. And she said that she didn't know exactly why, but she was sort of guessing about that. There wasn't much in the way of breakdown, but I do have the script. So here is the first scene from Natalia. And there are actually two short scenes in the script, but I'm just going to show you the first one because I think that first, watching just 30 seconds, will give us plenty to talk about. And I also think that that's where we're going to get the most goods today. So a quick reminder of framing. Her eye line, the line between her eyes and the camera and the person she's looking at, very close to camera, right? Her eyes, are not cut off, in any way. We're not getting profile. So her eye line is a great choice. Her eye line's right close to camera. We've got an eye light, so we've got light reflected in her eyes. The background, is, I mean, this little thing is going to grab some attention. Maybe like the doors, a little bit interesting, but it's mostly neutral, right? There isn't like a stack of books, or a shelf full of stuffed animals or anything like that. So her background is like good, fairly neutral choice.
Okay.
The lighting is good, right? Like we can see her nice and clearly, right? So it's like front on lighting, they see a little bit of shadow on the backdrop, but not very much. So altogether, a lot of the things about the way that the camera is set up here, very, very effective. Good. I would say that currently we are, there's too much space over her head, and we are in something like a medium shot, right? So if we tip down, then we would be seeing almost to her waist, which is what would make that a medium shot if you're seeing somebody's head to their waist. Where you're seeing me in right now, even in this like little teeny window in the corner, is a medium close-up. So just the top of my head, which honestly, I sometimes cheat and cut off a little bit because I'm bald. There's nothing to see. But what you want to see is just the top of the head to just below the armpits. And if I think we zoomed in on Natalia here, and I wonder if I can even do that here. Can I zoom it in? No, I can't. So if I was to use a program like iMovie or something and zoom in so that I was only taking this part of the frame and filling the whole frame with that, then it would seem like you could see more of what she was feeling. So we would see more detail. And so that's my first and kind of most basic technical fix on this one, is that in a medium close-up, nothing about the performance necessarily would change, but it would feel like we were more connected to it and we would see more detail. So now let's watch the first, say, 30 seconds or just up to the end of this first scene.
Look, your boyfriend is being harassed again. Better get over there and save him. You two make such a lovely couple.
I hate bullies.
So just want to pause here to say that like initially I listened to it and I was like, oh, her reader's quite loud, but her audio is much better. So she's clearly got a microphone or something, you know, that is pointed at her, possibly on her camera. Either that or her reader is far enough away. You know, so so initially I was like, oh, reader, but her voice loud and clear. We're hearing lots of the variation in her voice, which either means that her microphone is very, very close to her, you know, or that she has an external microphone that's attached to her camera or device and pointed at her.
I wonder what his story is. Surely no one chooses to live like this.
Well, forget him. For a moment, you've got more pressing issues to deal with.
Okay.
Okay, and that's the whole first scene. You know, I can obviously watch the rest, but 34 seconds. I'll watch. I want to watch the other side before I talk about that one. And like just big thanks to Natalia for participating, for being brave and letting me review her self-tape for you today. So this is scene 2. So you can see, you know, same setup, but she's doing a different character, and she's just done something as simple as taking her hair down. But you remember, those of you who are here for it or watched on YouTube, I did this lesson on character is an illusion. This person that we are seeing, simply because her hair is radically different, comes across on camera as very different. Right, like the cut of the shirt is different. Like she's wearing a slightly different shirt. You know, slightly different cut. She's wearing jewelry. Each of these little things that she's choosing to put in the frame, especially when there isn't very much in the frame, does something to tell us who the character is.
Oh, look. Your boyfriend is being harassed. Again. Better get over there and save him? You guys make such a lovely couple.
I hate police. I wonder what his story is. Surely no one chooses to live that way.
Well, forget about him for now. We have more important issues to deal with. Shall we?
Okay, and that's the first scene. So particularly with the first scene that we watched, there was maybe a full 5-second pause before her reader spoke. You know, and in that first 5 seconds, anybody watching the tape is going to make a decision about her competence, about what she's like as a character, about who she is, and she gave us both silence and stillness for that first 5 seconds. And so I think that technically that's problematic. Now, even if it was very full internally, and it's possible that she was watching the tape and thinking, oh, there's so much going on inside, it didn't translate. You know, like we didn't see physical behavior. We didn't see anything that would indicate clearly her opinion about what was happening or physically what was happening. And so I think that you could technically fix that by just cutting the tape and starting it immediately with the guy's line. In fact, I would say like put in a blackout to fade in. So even like, you know, as long as we don't lose any of the words, you could even start as it comes into that guy's line so that we get more of her behavior or some more of her and not have that like, wait, what's happening? Which is definitely my experience. You know, when I first watched the video, I was like, what's happening? And it's because I hadn't looked at the script yet and I wanted to have that experience of just looking at the script. So technically that's like a fairly easy fix. Is you can always record extra time at the beginning, you know, and these days I'm recommending when I'm coaching or when people do self-tapes, they take lots of time at the beginning. Like if you want to do an exercise, if you want to improv, if you want to do push-ups, if you want to like whatever is going to help you get there emotionally, because you're going to cut it off in the tape later. You're going to drag and drop it into an editing program and take, you know, only that like 1 second or 2 seconds or 5 seconds if it's really full of behavior or interesting stuff before the scene starts. You know, and so it doesn't matter if you've done 2 minutes of stuff. It's not like, I don't know, it's not like you're recording on celluloid and it's going to cost you extra money to record an extra minute of footage, you know, which was the case if you were, actually was the case if you were on set, what, like 20 years ago, you know, 10 even, 15, you know, it's like, I mean, these days, everything is being recorded digitally, you know, even on except on like a very few film sets where there's like an artist director, you know, who's kind of a big deal enough that they can insist on doing things in an inconvenient and old-fashioned way. but everything's being recorded digitally. So, whether you're at home, or on set, uh, that extra 30 seconds usually doesn't cost them anything. Now, that's not to say that when you're on set, you should take all the extra time in the world you want. They move on a pretty quick schedule, but it does mean that you can ask for it and no, it doesn't cost them anything. I think I might have shared this story a number of weeks ago, but one of the last times that I was on set, I was working on the TV show Supernatural, and the director had been one of the recurring characters for years and years. So he was an actor first, and we were doing a really like emotionally charged scene. And like often happens with these scenes, we were doing it in pieces, right? This setup for this piece of the scene and this setup for this piece of the scene, and so when we sort of set up for my coverage so that, they were getting like the close-up stuff of me, he was like, well, just start at the beginning of the scene, and move into it, even though the beginning of the scene was sort of like even off camera, like the camera wasn't even seeing it. So that it would be emotionally charged enough by the time we got to that spot in the scene. I was like, that's incredible. I've never had a director offer that to me, and it had never occurred to me before that I could simply ask for that on set, and the worst that they could say is no. But because it doesn't cost them anything, saying, hey, can we start 30 seconds before this line, because that's going to help us get the performance that you want, I think is a mature, grounded, valid ask, especially if you can do it from a place of ease and personal authority. Not an easy thing to pull off necessarily, especially if you're a young person, and facing folks who have 30 years of experience on you. But if you can find a place of just knowing that you're allowed to ask, this is likely to come across as more professional. It's likely to come across as, oh, you're allowed to ask. You are treating yourself as a professional with a job to do. You know that your job is just as important as their job, and that you can ask for whatever you need to do your job. Throwing that out there. So there's that technical thing about taking the first 5 seconds off of it. I would also say that Natalia is so unusually still in her first scene. Right? It's as though she's taken a camera class where they've said it's very, very important in camera work to be still, and to not move at all, which is actually true if you're seeing this. Right? If you're in a close-up, then any amount of movement, right? Like this little movement with my eyes is going to tell you tons of stuff about how I'm feeling, right? If I do that back here, it still does some, but I'm going to have to give a little more movement, and if I could back up in a medium close-up without pushing over my backdrop, then those little eye flicks might not even read cleanly, like not on the size that you're watching it on Zoom. So I would say that the technical thing to do, and this is one of the things that I would like to get you to demo if we can today, just partly so that Natalia can see what I mean, and I can use you to both be helpful to her, and use you to be helpful to her, and her stuff to be helpful to you, and all that. Is that they're supposed to be walking into the lobby of the building, and so if she had walked into the scene and looked over and seen the homeless guy and seen the people bullying him and had a couple of different eye lines for those things, but given us a sense, not that she is like an actor in a place, like an actor doing a tape, but she's a person in a place doing a thing that the camera happens to be catching in this technically specific way, that's likely to tell the story more cleanly. And that's the thing that I would like to show you today. I also think that what you do with the first 5 to 15 seconds of your tape is extraordinarily important, because that's really these days when people are deciding if you're a good fit for the character. And so that's the part of the scene that is the most important. I mean, really the whole scene, you want to layer specific choices into it, but especially the top of the scene, you want to layer clear opinions about things. You want to layer physical behavior. You want to really be clean technically about telling your story, because that's where they're deciding, who are you? And I would say that Natalia is so still in that first scene, that it's like, oh, she's like spooky, like she's supposed to be spooky or like supernatural, right? Like the kind of like, like I'm the ghost, or I'm the like supernatural, and I don't move at all, and I'm talking really slow, and everything's like all here, and you can see that in the performance, and maybe that is sort of the right choice for the project. Like I said, I don't have the breakdown, but I suspect not. Like I suspect that she is putting all of her attention on being believable, and that idea of believability and expressiveness and camera technique, right? I've talked about the camera technique, and I think that she's doing a good job of being believable. So I think really the next thing to move on to is expressiveness and story, right? So that we're getting all those quadrants covered, that she could have afforded to be more expressive, especially if it was in service of the story. So let's take a look at the script together, and Lori, would you read, let's see, the name of the character. Lori, would you read Maria, the obnoxious assistant? And Eve, do you want to read Victoria, the, boss who's, trying to avoid the
Do
thing?
I have the script?
Sorry.
No,
I'm going to pull it up in front of me.
Okay, cool.
So here we go.
Obnoxious assistant.
Exterior London street, day. A homeless man is being teased, bullied by two thuggish teenagers as people simply walk by, ignoring the incident. All except Victoria and her assistant, Maria. Incidentally, one of the reasons, easy ways that we can see that these are the audition sides for Maria is that it's all in capital letters, which means it's the first time she's appearing in the script. Right. Victoria has appeared previously in the script, which is why her name is not capitalized. If in the stage direction, if you see it capitalized, it's the first time that character has been seen by the audience, and so it's being like, poof, it's just a standard film TV formatting thing.
And she's obnoxious. We know this.
We don't know this. You please play the lines however you like. Like I said, I don't have a breakdown, so you read it whatever way works for you. She's just being insensitive towards the homeless guy. That's all.
Go. Look, your boyfriend is being harassed again. Better get over there and save him. You two make such a lovely couple.
I hate bullies. I wonder what his story is. Surely no one chooses to live that way.
Well, forget him. For a moment, you've got more pressing issues to deal with.
Okay, so that's it. That's the 3 lines. That's the 30 seconds of the scene. And so particularly if we look at this opening beat, a homeless man is being teased, bullied by two thuggish teenagers as people simply walk on by ignoring the incident, all except Victoria and her assistant, Maria. Now, if we were going to go look at scene 2, we're not going to read it out loud right now. We would find out that he's probably not coming to ask you out. I told you not to keep buying him coffee. Okay, so Victoria has a relationship, with the homeless guy, and she keeps buying him coffee. And so basically we would read that and go, okay, so Victoria cares. And Maria doesn't. And this is sort of like the signature difference between the two of them. Is there a strong opinion of the homeless guy? And so if you are preparing the character of Maria, I think the first tape that we saw was Victoria, right? So mostly just like responding, to these things that Maria is saying. Then finding the place of like, we're walking into my place of work, I'm the boss, like do I then have a jacket? Like, do I give myself a purse? Do I like sort of, what do I have that helps me feel like, cool, I'm on my way to work, and how do we communicate that? And then who's Victoria as a person? So that thing from the story exercise of 3 adjectives, like 3 single word adjectives to describe who you are if you're playing Victoria, right? So am I, compassionate, and kind and like nervous, or am I, then that's what you would give us in those first 10 seconds, and am I, type A, and opinionated, and, like justice warrior, right? Totally valid with what we've seen, but completely different. Because then you're going to walk in as Victoria, like doing a thing. And when you see these guys, harassing this homeless person, you're going to want to get over there and get in their faces. The assistant's going to have to restrain you and remind you how important it is to get to work right now. Because we don't have a breakdown, those 2 and anything in between are all really valid. But what we would want to see is the physical behavior that showed us that in the first 10 seconds. And so that's the piece that I'm interested in workshopping. Is not even the lines, is the homeless man being bullied by the 2 thuggish teenagers as these 2 come to work. Lori, you had a question?
Yes, obviously there are 2 eye lines here. So one is the incident, the homeless guy being beaten up, and then the other is the person with whom you're walking. So What would you choose for that? Would you choose, you're talking to the person you're with just off camera? And would you choose something big, like that's the incident happening there? Or would you go closer?
For the first one, if you're playing Maria, then yes. Because most of your dialogue is delivered to the person who's directly beside the camera.
Right. But would you choose for the incident way over here or something, or just a little bit?
So that's what I'm saying. For the first one, if you're playing Maria, then I think having the incident be over there, because like further off camera, is fine because you're only going to glance at it at the beginning, right? Most of your attention in the scene is on this person who's right beside the camera. If you're doing the other character, you're doing Victoria, then you would want both eye lines to be close to camera, because you're going to be spending a lot of time looking at the homeless guy, and like wanting to go over there. And so if that's all the way over here and we get your ear for a big chunk of the scene, we don't want that. If we get your ear for like a quick pop at the beginning, maybe it just makes it even more clear that it's something completely different you're looking at. Right.
Thank
So, Lori, are you standing or sitting right now?
I'm sitting.
Let's imagine that Lori has just walked into the scene. Obviously we wouldn't be able to do this, right. And so
it adjusts pretty fast.
Oh, does? Yeah, do it. Good. I'll point everybody at me so that you don't have to worry about it.
Okay. One, I guess that's it for that.
And then Eve, if you're game to play, or Candy, if you want to play, can you adjust so that you are also standing and the other side of it as well?
Okay.
Perfect. Now, something that I recommend with self-tapes that you're submitting is that even if you're walking in, you start with the camera can see your face, because if you're submitting it on Actors Access Breakdown services, often it uses the very first frame as the picture. And so if you start with a blank screen, then the risk is they look at it later and they're like, wait, who is that again?
Yeah, they don't know who you are.
Yeah, exactly. So basically you start as far back as you can go, or far off the side you can go with the camera still seeing your face. You don't have to worry about making it pretty right now because we're just playing.
All right.
Starting to rearrange the furniture.
Okay.
Now I would say
that's not hard.
Walk in from whichever side you expect the homeless man to be on.
The pardon to be on?
The homeless man.
Walk in from the side of the homeless guy.
Yeah,
right.
Because he's behind you in the lobby, and the two of you are headed to work.
Got it. There we go. That'll have to do.
Yeah, that's perfect. So and then make sure to move into frame so that we can see you. Right. So remember, start where the camera can see you. Just in the corner of the frame so that we still get you, like walking in, but we need to see your face. There you go. Yeah, there it is. That's right. And so we'll just mark it. So on action, you walk to about the middle of the frame. So action, you walk to the middle, and then you look back and you see the guy being harassed by the teenagers. But your body probably is still facing the place you're going. So what you've done now is an actor thing is you've reoriented your body to the camera, which you don't, if you do, will seem slightly false. So you look back, you see the homeless guy, and then you look over at Victoria, and you could even get her attention and be like, and all of that is before you even said anything. Exactly. And so that's the start of the scene. And so right away we're seeing like that Laurie's version of Maria is like judgmental, and like maybe even enjoying the judgment, and like sort of on her way out the door. Now Maria can personalize the homeless, like maybe Maria is a justice warrior, or maybe Laurie is a justice warrior, and like cares deeply about the plight of persons who are unhoused. And so she's personalizing it as like oil tycoon, right? Like that's fine. She can personalize it however she wants, as long as she looks at the person out there and is like, ha, that guy deserves to be beat up. Right? Like it doesn't matter, and you don't have to tell anybody what you're personalizing it with. But that's just context for anybody who's like, that poor homeless person. Yeah, of course. Like, hooray, be compassionate humans, and still tell the story. Good. And so let's just run that little piece without me talking through it. Stand by.
Okay.
And action. Yeah, right? Boom, exactly. And so we get who she is. Like it's simple. There isn't a lot of it, but it's so expressive. And right, yeah. And even though it hurts Laurie's heart, to be a jerk. Exactly.
Mean.
Yeah. But that's who we want to cast, right? We want to cast somebody who can pretend effectively to be mean, and then off camera will not be. Interestingly, I just want to point out how much sharper the resolution on Lori's video is because she is not using a laptop like I am, right? So if you compare the resolution here, right? See how I'm like just
Camera.
kind of pixelated, kind of blurry, and the resolution here, much crisper. What's that going to make it look like? It's going to make it look like Lori's a better actor, right? There are these technical things that we just have to take into account when we're doing self-tapes. Okay, and then if Eve is set up to be standing up, and she's Eve, you walk in, so again, just go to the corner of your screen, but where the camera can still see you, and if, and I'll even give you the cue line, look, your boyfriend's being harassed again. But what we want is that like 5 seconds of who the character is before that. So you've got this thing in your purse, that like is really important. There's like a really important file you've got to go up. And if we read scene 2, we would see that there's this really important file you have to go and open up. So you are focused. The side of the camera that I'm on, basically I'm walking ahead of you, and you're going to come in, you're going to come in pretty fast, and then you're going to hear the altercation outside. And I think for the moment, let's play with you wanting to turn back, and just really see you being torn about whether to go back and help or keep moving. Stand by. And action. Look, your boyfriend's being harassed again. Good, and you remember you need to stay there where we can see you. You don't walk out of frame. Because
oh yeah, sorry, I forgot that you were gonna cue it.
Of course, it's all good. So do it one more time, and take your time with it. Take your time with it. Imagine you've got like keys or something in your hand. So that gives you a reason to pause and make sure you've got the right key card to get in the elevator. But so basically, you're giving yourself a reason to pause in the middle of the frame. That's not just because I'm an actor and I'm hitting my mark. And that might help as well. Stand by and focused on where you're going. Action. Harassing. Hey, look, your boyfriend's being harassed again. Good. And then throw a look over at me on the other side of the camera, like, you jerk. Yeah, exactly. And so that's the whole scene. Right then we've got a sense of like who she is, where she's going. We probably, Eve would, change her wardrobe, if she was going for this. Like, pink hoodie may not be like quite the powerful CEO, but I put her on the spot. So Lori and Eve, thank you for being brave and helping me out. And thank you so much to Natalia for being brave and letting us look at her video. Right. I hope that the notes are useful. Natalia, if you're watching this tape, notice that it looked like in your videos that you were doing that actor thing that I talked to Lori about just there, which is like orienting your body towards the camera, instead of like to what's going on. As long as your eye lines are close to camera, it's totally fine, for your body to be oriented to the action of the scene. Lori, did you have a question before we wrap up?
No, I'm just sending the name of the place you can get this fabric. It may not show up on the Facebook page is available, but you just give them a call and they'll let you know if they still have some.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. And so she's also just put it in the chat window here. That's for folks who are in Vancouver, but
yes.
Just knowing, that you can get, stretchy blue fabric and it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg, and it can look real good, like we can see in Lori's background right now. Does anybody else, have a last question, before we wrap for today? Okay. Reminder that Annalise Tilling and Darren Lally are joining us this Thursday. So it's our first casting director workshop in a couple of months. They are picking up some of the slack from Corrine Mares and Heike Brandstatter, where they used to be casting associates, and so they've cast a whole bunch of heavy hitter stuff, and assisted with that casting, and now they're kind of breaking out on their own. So we're going to get them before they are cynical and or burnt out, which is great. Like, that'll be more fun. And I think they're even both coming, which is going to be really fun. So please come for that if you can, and if you can't, watch the video. You can see videos from all of our past lessons. All you have to do is go to myfreeactingclass.com and click the little video link there to take you to our YouTube channel. And then if you want to have a self-tape included in Monday's self-tape review, I promise I will take out any identifying features that would get you in trouble with production. It falls under fair use copyright because this is educational and no money is being made. Just send them to info@myfreeactingclass.com, and that offer goes to anybody who is watching this, not just the 5 of you who are here. All right. Bye, everybody. Happy Monday.
Happy
Thank
Monday.
you.
Thank
Great
you so
job,
much.
Aya, Eve, and
My
Lori.
pleasure. And thanks again. Cheers.
Thank you. Thanks, Eve.